Hey, welcome to another edition of Mississippi Stories. I am your host, Marshall Ramsey of Mississippi Today. Of course, I draw editorial cartoons, and of course, you can check out our great coverage at MississippiToday.org. Our guest today is somebody who's been on with us before, and in a way, and I told him this before we actually started recording, I'm almost sorry that he is on today because Jeff Good has given so much to the city of Jackson and given to this community. Of course, he is the founder of Bravo and Broad Street Bakery, and of course, Sal and Mookie's, three amazing restaurants in the Jackson area. But today he's on representing all the independent restaurants in the city of Jackson. Some of you may know this. If you don't, and you're watching from outside of the Jackson area, Jackson's water system has been perpetually bad over the last few years. And this is not an uncommon occurrence in the Southeast because a lot of the pipes in a lot of the Southeastern cities are 100 years old. They're cast iron. There's a lot of issues. Jackson kind of has that extra problem of Yazoo clay, which is in a very expansive soil. So whenever it gets cold, pipes break. These things you're kind of used to, but the problems lately have been getting worse, and it seems like they've been getting worse on a more frequent basis. And I don't know about you, but when your city services don't work and you're paying taxes, it's frustrating. But when your business depends on city services and you're at a time when your business is being pressed because of all the problems with the economy, that, of course, just starts to stack on top of each other. So I invited Jeff Good back on today. Jeff, it's good to see you. And like I said, I'm sorry it's under these circumstances. You and I talked earlier in the year a little bit about how you have gotten through the pandemic, now then through inflation, which of course has hit restaurants really hard. I've seen you on Fox Business talking about that. You kind of got to be a regular there for a little bit. I thought you might get a
good news is chicken wing prices are coming down, and we've dropped our chicken wing prices at the restaurant. So one small victory.
There you go. And I'm glad you got that plug in early. Now I can go for lunch, and that's good to know. Let me ask you. Well, number one, chicken wings are going down. Is that because gas prices are going down? Just out of curiosity, I don't know the chicken wing business.
It's a food group by food group kind of situation. So all the time for us in the restaurant business, just like going to the grocery store, you may see different things, different prices at different times. For whatever reason, starting about 3 weeks ago, chicken wings in bulk came off of their once ever highest ever, $165, $170 a case. They're down to 75. They used to be in the 50s, but they've just dropped precipitously. And that's just a weird thing because other parts of the market, cream, oil, any kind of butter fat, a lot of the proteins are still really at historic highs. So that's not a gas related thing. However, we're really excited. I saw at the gas station yesterday at the corner of Northside, $3.49 a gallon. So we are looking forward to maybe some of our heavier bulk items to start coming down in price, perhaps, and those things that are dependent upon oil. But it's a long game. But we're just happy that we can have one victory where we're actually taking a menu price and reprinting by scratching and dropping the price as opposed to perpetually increasing, because it's a little maddening. But it's where we are, and we're all in this together. And that's something that will move forward. The water situation here on August the 10th of 2022 is a clear and present danger, and it is, and as you said, very, very well stated. It's not unique to any southern city. Ours is just particularly in bad shape. And to make it really, really simple, if I can just quickly delineate two parts. You mentioned the pipes. We're going to live. This is where we start talking about the 1.5 billion, the $2 billion problem. We have thousands of miles of roads, and all those roads have pipes underneath them. And many of those pipes in the older parts of town can be up to 100 or more years old. And then we have the Yazoo clay, as you said, that breaks them. We're going to be living with water main breaks for the rest of our lives because there's just no way to possibly rebuild every road. You have to tear it up, pull the pipes out, then rebuild the road. There's just no way to do it. If you remember the State Street rebuild, which was fantastic, that went from Pig and Pint and Fondren all the way out to past the North State Animal Hospital there on Shepherd on State Street. That was a 4-year project just to do, what is that, 2 miles?
Yeah.
So I think any of us that live in Jackson, and even those of us in the restaurant business, we can accept that because a localized water main break, that means in my neighborhood, a water main breaks, and a water main, it snaps, cold, whatever, you lose water pressure. The city is outstanding at fixing these things. Every single time there's a water main break, within 24 hours, it is fixed and gravel's back on top of the hole. These guys, they are unbelievable. They work in the rain, the sleet, the snow. They are in pools of water. They are unbelievable. Whenever I see a group of guys that come around our restaurants to work on something, we always bring out food for them. It's just really important. They're great people. And then after so you have a water main break, they fix it within 24 hours. And then the way the system works is they flush the system, and then you take samples that you provide to the Department of Health, and they require 3 days of clean water samples coming from the affected area. So if it's a localized break, if it happens around Banner Hall, like it does sometimes, so they'll take samples from around Banner Hall, day 1, day 2, day 3, good to go, boil water lifted. So what's the total amount of days? 4, maybe 5 days just for that neighborhood. And then it might be 9 months, it might be 6 months, it might be a year and a half before we have another water main break. That's just life.
Yeah.
What's happening now, Marshall, is that we're having continued citywide outages and boil water notices. So one of two things: either there's no water pressure, the facility, the pumping facility fails, or we have a citywide boil water because of chemical misdosing or because of turbidity levels, which is the amount of solids in the water. And that's what we're facing right now. And this is the 5th citywide outage or boil water notice in 16 months, starting with the February 2021 freeze, where my restaurants, Broad Street, located on I-55 and Northside Drive on the west side, and Salamookie's, when it was located in Fondren, there on Taylor Street, both of those restaurants were closed for 21 days with no water. Bravo was closed for 6 days because we're on the east side of the interstate, and the water system feeds the main line that runs down the Pearl River, feeds over there. So we got pressurized first. The whole system had to be repressurized. South Jackson didn't get water for 6 weeks. So this is, and then we had the fire, the panel fire, which brought down the entire pumping system. Then we had the misdosing of chemicals in November. Then we had the boil water notice that was 3.5 weeks ago. And now we're into the 2nd week of the boil water notice now. And yesterday, the city announced that the 2 of the pumps at the station have failed. They're taking one offline right now for repairs. They'll take another one offline. So they put in a conserve water notice. Water pressure may drop. Jackson State University, Merritt Hospital in South Jackson, and parts of South Jackson might be without water. This is an ongoing issue, and it has gone on for decades. We've had a crumbling infrastructure. So it's easy to say it's always been this way, and what do we need to do? The point is, something has to happen. Yeah. And so the moment here that we're trying to say as restaurants is, we're not interested in finger pointing. Is it, it is a city problem, no doubt. It is a city function. It is a city problem. It is the city's responsibility to get to yes. In orientation with my employees, I give a lot of talks about telling the truth and doing the right thing, and not being afraid to walk towards conflict and getting to yes. It is our city's job to get to yes with the powers that be it regulatory at the Department of Health or EPA, be it state for funding or partnerships, or be it the county for funding or partnerships, or be it the business community. I don't know what we can do other than advocate. We certainly can't pay for anything, but we can help. There's tons of lawyers and bond attorneys and smart folks that can do all sorts of engagement, but we need to be asked. And I think the fear is that we're not quite sure what is being done. And our mayor continues to share that he is working as hard as he can, but I'm not sure that anyone understands what that means in terms of results, because it just every month that goes by, we continue to have more issues. So it's just one of those things that you say, where's the result? Where's the beef? Where's the end of it? So that's kind of where we are.
Well, and it's particularly worrisome because we are in this moment where just an absolutely incredible tidal wave of federal dollars has poured into the state for infrastructure. And you would hate to miss the crest of that wave because there is whatever reason that maybe state politicians and local politicians don't talk, or whatever the case may be. And like you said, this really isn't a time for finger pointing. This is a time for action to be able to move forward. And it was something I noticed. I guess it was the big, when all the pipes broke because of the freeze a few years ago, then all the healthcare systems, for instance, build in their own water systems.
Absolutely.
That's not a good sign, because that means they've lost faith in the situation. But you can't do that as a as a small business person. It's not like there's going to be a giant tower over Banner Hall, which, by the way, you have elevation against you on that one too. It seems like
We're the
you're
canary in
always
the coal mine. We always go out first when the pressure drops. So the ag commissioner, Andy Gibson, is building his own water system at the fairgrounds out of necessity. All of the hospitals, with the exception of one major hospital, is put in a tower. My alma mater, that really doesn't need to be spending money on this. We needed to be doing other things. At Millsaps, we're building a water tower.
Wow.
And there's no way for a small business to build a water tower. The Millsaps tower will be $4 million. It's just, this is not there. Plus there's regulation. You got, you're in your whole business of now, monitoring your own water quality. Here's my thought about the money. We have had a tsunami of infrastructure money, and there's another infrastructure plan, obviously, that was passed last year and is in the process of rolling out.
Right.
Currently, and you've got a statewide audience, Marshall, and the people that follow you and listen to you, there's so much talent and capability and folks that care about our state. So here's where we are. We're seeing right now, and I saw this yesterday and the day before again, we're seeing the city and state, county's kind of quiet right now, but the city and state posturing over that very question about the ARPA funds. You hear narrative that $90 million was given to Jackson. Well, as I understand, it was 45 for Jackson, 45 for the county. Why did that money not go towards infrastructure? And then I've heard the mayor, be specific that, a majority of our money went towards infrastructure, but multiple projects. There was the Siemens, debacle, and then the administration was able to secure a lawsuit against Siemens to return almost all the money, but a third of it went towards attorney fees, so that left 60 million. And I think we had so many holes in the budget that a couple of years ago that just kind of filled the hole, so it wasn't. And then also put some money towards these new meters that are going in, so it's just getting us back to where we were on that side. So I guess what I'm trying to say is to be proactive. And thank you for asking this question, and thank you for the timeliness of it. And again, it's August the 10th, 2022. Who is out there and who can help bridge a gap between all the parties, city, county, state, feds, regulatory, the works, and what plan of action can be put together? Because somebody is going to die. In some communities, it's taken cholera, dysentery. It's taken something like that, an outbreak in a neighborhood, to all of a sudden have everybody go, oh my gosh, we got to do something. But this idea that we are losing water pressure again, the issue about losing water pressure, it's like your hose. If you are watering your plants, you drop your hose, you go back, you turn off your faucet, you might notice that your hose, if it's sitting in a pool of water, will suck some of that water back into the hose. It's a natural hydraulic. The pressure's gone, it retreats. When a water line that is in the city, which is under constant pressure, we take water from the reservoir, we clean it, and we pump it out from the reservoir, and we push it through hydraulics through the entire city. Plus you have the water towers, that's additional hydraulics. When that pressure stops, all of the water lines suck in, and all the water lines are broken. So what do? They suck in groundwater. What does that groundwater have? Fecal matter, chemicals, dirt. And so then when it repressurizes, it's all in there. And so the concern is that you can really deliver some incredibly bad stuff to somebody's home. This is a crisis. So, boy, I'm Debbie Downer today, but it's
no, but that's why I wanted to have you on, Jeff. Yes, we're going to talk about how it's affecting obviously the restaurant business, but I kind of think you're more like a canary in the coal mine as much as anything else, because you're obviously, all the restaurateurs in the city are being affected financially. And we'll hit some of those numbers in just a minute. But I think at the end of the day, like you're saying, there are people that live in Jackson, the largest city in the state of Mississippi, the capital city of in Mississippi, literally where our state capital resides. Okay. That are almost in third world conditions, that are having to get bottled water, but they're being given by churches to be able to have things to drink. This is 2022.
We have families that are struggling to just make rent, and they're having to get in the car and drive and waste a gallon of gas at $4 to get a case of water that costs $3.
Yeah.
And so there's a real, there's a justice issue here. There's a safety issue here. There's it's just another stressor on everyone's quality of life. So it's tough. And you mentioned restaurants, again, it's everybody, but restaurants, very quickly, let me explain why this is a big thing for us. We consume water like nobody's business.
To begin with, your profits, because of everything that you and I have talked about in the past, are down 75% nationally. So
tell me of this profit thing. What is this thing called profit?
I think it's profit. I think I read about it in the Bible. I think there are people that make predictions about how, literally when your water stops,
frogs and blood in the water.
Yeah. Something like that.
No, they're locusts.
Yes. So
restaurants consume a tremendous amount of water. Our monthly water bill at each of our restaurants averages right around $1,000 to $1,200. We consume a lot of water.
Yeah.
Where dishwashing and cooking and service, and everybody gets a glass of water, yada yada yada, iced tea. So in a restaurant, the way we make money is we're very careful about how we choose to buy the products that we make to serve you. We price things in a way that we're able to make a margin to cover our food cost, our labor cost, and our overhead.
Right.
Soft drinks and iced tea and coffee are major profit centers, especially for restaurants that don't serve liquor. Mm-hmm. It has a great markup. And the way the great markup works is you might have a commercial sized bag of iced tea that brews one of those big urns. When you go to a restaurant, you self-serve yourself. That bag of iced tea is roughly $1.20 to fill that entire urn, which might be, I think, 3 gallons. So there's a big profit margin if you're selling a drink for $2.50, $3, or whatever. But when you have a boil water notice, your tea machine, which is tapped into the wall, heats water, does not boil it, heats water, 165 degrees, seeps through the tea, makes the tea. Same thing for coffee. Coffee brewers don't boil water. Espresso machines don't boil water. None of the machines can be used if you're going to follow the rules of a boil water notice. So by definition, we're not able to make those high profit items. So we have to go old school. We have to boil water, get a colander, put the bag in there, hand pour it, cool the stuff down, because we can't put, super hot, boiled water stuff on the line. So we have to cut it. There's a whole process. We're too good at it, unfortunately. Then the soft drinks. When you go to your fast food place, or you go to a counter service place, or if you're in a regular restaurant, you see the waiter over the wait station, there's a fountain. Mm-hmm. It's Pepsi or it's Coca-Cola, whatever the brands are. And you put your cup underneath, you get your ice, you put your cup underneath, you get your drink. The ice is coming from an ice machine that's in the back of the restaurant. The ice machine is tapped into the wall. The soda fountain is tapped into the wall, and it takes concentrate. So they come in these bags, these 3 and 5 gallon bags of super thick, like molasses syrup, which is the concentrate for your soft drinks, your colas and your root beers and your clear soft drinks, and even your Sobe waters and things like that. And the machine mixes a percentage of, like, I don't know, is it 10% syrup to 90% water? And that syrup costs us $100 for a box of the syrup, and we're going to make hundreds of drinks from it. Can't do it when there's a boil water. That's why all the soft drink machines shut down, and we go to canned drinks. Well, you go to Kroger, and canned drinks or Corner Market, they're $3.99 for 12 on sale. We don't have the luxury of going to Kroger to go shopping. We are on fire. We're dealing with all these stresses. We're dealing with the regular part of business. We're dealing with making sure that everything is being done safely. So we're double downing on our paying attention. We got to have people bring it to us. When you have products brought to us, especially when there's a scarcity, the products cost through the yin yang. So it costs us roughly 90 cents a can to have those drinks come in, where it was costing us 20 cents maybe, or 10 cents. So that's kind of the mechanics behind it, and why it's so difficult that from a financial standpoint, we get pummeled. And then there's the ice. I spent last week at Sal and Mookie's, I was looking into this. I spent $1,250 in ice. And this week I'm going to spend roughly $1,300, we think, if we go through Saturday. So that's $2,700 in ice. And my ice machine that I spent $10,000 on is turned off and sitting idle, waiting to make ice. It's killing us. And so you take that, replicate it across the board. That's the stressors we're feeling, and that's the crisis. And so what does that mean? So let me put on my economic development Chamber of Commerce hat. Restaurants, very few restaurants own their property. Most of us lease. All three of my restaurants we lease from landlords. When a lease comes up, a business makes a decision on where it wants to be, what its market is, et cetera. There's all sorts of pushes and pulls in Jackson for reasons that people may move. This is a stunning moment where I've talked to a couple restaurateurs who are pretty much realizing this is the moment. It is a shame that one of the strongest points we have in the city is an incredible, diverse, incredible, tasty, incredible, stylized food industry. For folks to close because they can't afford to or move because they have to would be a sad moment for our city. This is the crisis. It is not Peter, crying wolf. It is real. And I'm begging that if anyone has the ability to help move this needle, please help us move the needle.
Yeah, it's and it was interesting too. I was listening to the press conference that y'all held, and when you listen to restaurant owners, and of course, you have a Sal and Mookie's in Jackson. There is a franchised Sal and Mookie's in Madison. So, but what I thought was interesting was hearing the owners who had restaurants out in the suburbs saying that this actually drives traffic to their suburb locations and takes away from, because people, I guess they're afraid they're going to get sick or whatever.
Yes.
I mean, I was thinking, I was eating at the Manship with my family, fantastic restaurant, love it, great food. And I got 2 glasses of water and I felt guilty. I was like, well, wait a minute. Cause I mean, they're probably pouring that out of a bottle somewhere, like that. I'm probably costing me, because normally you just don't think about it. It's like, it's water. It's not a big deal, but you're figuring on that. But when you're, I mean, not only are you facing costs of $500 to $700 extra a day in that sort of, because of that too, it's literally pushing traffic outside of the city, which is, that hurts tax base. I mean, there's just a lot of reasons why that's bad. But to hear you say, I mean, literally, Jeff, seriously, when I think of Jackson, you're probably one of the biggest cheerleaders that in the last 25 years that I know of. And for you to hear saying this is getting to the point where I may actually have to make the decision to move.
Well, we're locked in, and we don't have any, first of all, we don't have any leases coming up. So it's not even an option, but
right.
I'm Pollyanna and I'm also a masochist. So I'm going to stick it and keep going, but I'm just being really sincere. This isn't BS.
Right.
This is real. And you know what, this is a decision that everyone needs to make. And it gets down to the citizens. The citizens of our city need to make a decision that, are we going to demand something or not? And by demanding it, it's not pitchforks, down to City Hall. It's what do we need to do to really make something happen and hold, and there has to be some accountability to it. But David Kahn is the person you were speaking about in that press conference. He's one of the partners that owns Saltine and Char, Amerigo, Sombra. Yeah. And they own restaurants that are in Tennessee. They've got a Char and Amerigo's up there. They're amazing. And I think they've got something going in Alabama now. They're an amazing Mississippi company started by Bill Latham, sold Bill Latham and L. Roberts, and just rock solid operators. He said, Char and Amerigo Char and Saltine, Char located in Highland Village, Saltine there in Dueling Hall and Fondren, 20% down plus in sales last week. And we can say the same thing at our restaurants.
Yeah.
Amerigo Original and Amerigo Flowwood up 20%. So, and our folks, our friends at Madison Sal and Mookie's, they had a record week last week. So it's real, and so we need to work through that. And having this conversation helps. Yeah. And I really appreciate you reaching out. I'm available if anyone wants to reach out to me on all of our websites. There's a contact us button at the top. It goes to me. So I'd be more than happy to have a conversation with anyone. productive conversation, please.
Right.
Let's get to yes. And in the meantime, a good dose of prayer, and I am praying for our leaders. And I've got some resentments. I have some resentments about what's going on. But I have to give it up and give it to God, and just kind of, I need to find my place in my hula hoop and know where I'm supposed to be. I don't like being the protagonist here, but Lord have mercy, if I'm not, who is?
Well, I mean, you have got a platform and you're very good at that. But let me ask you this, because there has been a historical, obviously, friction between the city and the state. And I mean, all these different egos and whatever. Like I said, not calling any names out or anything. How do we break down those walls and get everybody to communicate? Because I mean, for me, it sounds like the actual water plants themselves need a huge influx of cash and rebuilding.
There's one issue. I'm sorry, I didn't finish the story. It's not a $2 billion problem to fix the plant. Right. It's a tens of million. Is it 10 million?
Like I said, the pipes or something.
Million.
Right. The pipes you can deal with, like you said, on a case by case basis. But when the plant itself can't get water into the system and you lose pressure all the time, or what is coming out you can't use, then that seems to be a no brainer to be able to pour all your resources in it and fix it.
There is a the history of Jackson goes back. Jerry Nash and Andy Taggart wrote a great, book, a series of books they've written, but a great book about Mississippi politics. But Jackson has always been kind of the red-haired stepchild of the state. Back in the day of the rural Mississippi, Jackson was seen as where the money and the Tony folks and the power was, and so there was a lot of anger, rural versus urban. Jackson is a 85% African American city, and let's be clear that there is racism and just general malaise from many parts of our state about our capital city based on its politics and its makeup. So we've shifted from an issue of being jealous of Jackson being rich to being indifferent because Jackson is poorer. Mm-hmm. The bottom line is we're all Mississippians, and the bottom line is I used to say 172,000. I've got people telling me we're down the 150s now. I don't know what the census data is. You may, but the 160 some odd thousand people that I call brothers and sisters in this city. We are human beings, and many of us just want to be led. We're the governed, and we're just looking to be governed. Yeah. But we become tribal, and I think Jackson politics, oftentimes when it comes time to get into the voting booth, it becomes very tribal, just like it does anywhere in the world. To answer the question about bridging the divide, vulnerability and honesty is where it comes from. I don't know what a mayor, a city council, a board of supervisors, a lieutenant governor, speaker of the house, or governor, I don't know what their days are like and what their agendas are like and what their strategies are like. I don't know all of their individual issues, but I do know that the only way that Winston Churchill brought Britain through the war because, Franklin Delano brought America through the war because communication, honesty. You may not agree with the politics, you may not agree with the people, whatever, but communication, honesty, transparency, taking a hit and losing, getting a win and winning. I don't know. I'm scared. I'm scared that we're so divided that it's just not going to happen. And there are models for privatization, either completely or just operationally. There are models for state operation. There are models for regional operation. And as I've understood it, the EPA wants all markets to start partnering in water sewer because it's such a damn big problem that a small city can't handle it by itself. Right. We could regionalize, but that means changing the power structure, which means perhaps some of the contractors that have traditionally been able to work those things would have more competition. So there's fear of that. I don't know.
Yeah. Harvey Johnson, I love drawing him as election man. He was a fun cartoon. He was a fun cartoon. We'll just put it that way. But he was right about one thing. He's talking about Jackson being the trunk of the tree. And I just don't see it good for all the suburbs or for the state itself for the city to fail. And for the city to lose its independent restaurants, that is a huge chunk of culture that makes Jackson fun and makes it interesting for whether you're 21 years old or whether you're old like me and 54. It's fun. And these days we love to go out to eat. That's what we do as Americans. And that was one of the things I think we missed the most during the pandemic.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
to think that we could lose any one of the restaurants in Jackson, which, I mean, like I said, I've lived a lot of different places. We're very blessed here to have great independent restaurants.
Yeah.
And so, it's good for you to come on and talk about that, how it's affecting you. Like you said, you're getting hit by several hurricanes at once, obviously the inflation, the pandemic, the workforce issues, and everything else. But this is one that just seems to be an unnecessary problem, and one that seems to have a solution if at the end of the day we could just open up those channels of communication like you're saying and talk.
The majority of restaurant owners in this city do not look like me. The majority of restaurant owners in this city make $500,000 to $600,000 a year in revenue. It's not a huge business. It sounds like a lot, but there's huge costs. You take 2/3 of that away immediately for food and labor, and then cover everything else by that. My biggest fear, quality of life, you lose these things. We are an employer, and we are neighborhood employers.
Yeah.
I see how people come to work in my restaurants, carpooling, getting dropped off, figuring out how to navigate, because a lot of our employees are blue collar workers trying to get started, trying to get their leg up, may not have their own car, sharing of housing with somebody. When places like us aren't there to hire people, and we oftentimes are able to take low skilled folks, I don't know where in our market they're going to go work, and I don't know how they're going to get there because of we don't have transportation.
Yeah.
These are all interwoven issues that are part of a complex system. And this is why it needs to be far more than just, any kind of jingoistic conversation about this, that, or the other. This is an economic system, and we are a poor city with great social ills that need to be fixed. And the way we fix it is by providing, that's why we do Refill Cafe, which, by the way, Marshall, you're the first to know, we are reopening Refill Cafe soon. There'll be an announcement in the next couple of weeks. Very exciting. So that cafe will reopen in West Jackson, and we take 18 to 24-year-olds that have never worked and provide them opportunities. We've been doing this quietly in the background with offsite job opportunities. But the work we have, and the Great Commission that I have heard from, when I go to church, is to help one another and kingdom of God on earth. Let's do the work here. There's a lot of things we can do, but we need businesses, we need payrolls, we need quality of life, all that stuff. So thank you for giving me a chance to have this bully pulpit. You're the bulliest of pulpits.
Oh no,
bless you for putting this out there.
It's great. I mean, like I said, I've seen you on TV. I've read your op-eds. I've seen you on Facebook and everything else. I just want to have a chance to talk to you a little bit about it. And I've got to do a quick, just a little ad here in just a second, but let me just ask, how are you doing? Because like I said, you obviously, I know you're going to say, well, I'm doing great. I'm holding together for everybody.
I'm not doing great. No,
I mean, it's been literally just one damn thing after another in the last 2 years. So,
I'm going to show you something. I'm pulling this out of my pocket. So I want to put this up here. So that is a 25-year AA chip.
Yeah. I
stopped drinking 25 years ago. I didn't start recovery until 2 years ago. The pandemic brought me into the rooms of AA. I just stopped, I stopped drinking and said, this is not for me.
Yeah.
So part of recovery is starting to learn about yourself and your ego.
Yeah.
Motivations. And what I can tell you is the recovery community, and going through what they call the steps, having a sponsor, somebody I'm accountable to, because I'm the boss. My partner and I can argue all the time, but I get my way. I'm the boss. I get it. So I've got two people in the world that hold me accountable: my wife and my sponsor. And it's important that I'm told what to do.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be a better human being. I'm 58 years old. I'm a middle-aged white man. I'm trying to be a better human being. I feel more serene than I've ever felt in my life. I'm stressed beyond belief about this crap, but I have a larger understanding that there is something else at play here that I really have no control over. And all I can do is show up and do the work each day.
Yeah.
I have money in the bank. Thank God. We did not 2 years ago. I thought it was going to all fall apart. I have friends. I am dropping my golf score. I'm able to go play golf, and I'm actually doing okay. I'm out there at Lake Caroline, in your neighborhood. See, I haven't had a chance to hit a ball in your backyard yet. It'll happen. But I'm lucky. Thank you for asking. You and I have talked intimately about, self-care, self-recovery. I'm thankful. I'm thankful for everybody that's out there. Had someone reach out this morning from the restaurant community who is facing the challenge of whether or not they will go to treatment. And my simple answer was, I'm here to talk anytime you want to talk.
Yeah.
So thank you for asking. Hey, but I'm not running for any office, so we can get beyond that, because I'm going to stay married, and that's beyond my ego.
And I'd really, really love to draw you, Jeff, but I can't say I don't blame you. But you figured out a way to lead outside of that, so I appreciate it.
Look at that nose. You got this whole profile here. Look at that. It's better than Mike Moore's hair. Look at that.
See, it just draws itself. It's great. All right, let me do this quick ad real quick, and we will sign off. The University of Mississippi Medical Center, I want to thank them for sponsoring today's episode. They are the state's only academic medical center. Its education, research, and healthcare missions share the objectives of improving the health of the state's population by eliminating health disparities. It's located in Jackson, that we've been talking about today. The UMMC encompasses 7 health science schools, including medicine, nursing, health-related professions, dentistry, pharmacy, graduate studies, and population health. The medical center's health enterprise includes the state's only level 1 trauma center, only children's hospital, only organ and bone marrow transplant programs. The medical center is also the home of the Telehealth Center of Excellence, one of 2 in the nation. For more information, you can go to umc.edu. Jeff, man, now I'm hungry. I'm gonna have to come down and check out your place. By the way, thank you. We did the free coffee deal Mississippi Today did with y'all, and that was an amazing program. It was a chance just to be able to rub shoulders with people who love Mississippi Today, but they also love Broad Street, and that was a really fun event. And that's one that I think it's great for you to be able to give back to nonprofits and other community.
Well, you're kind, and the best part about that, it's a win-win. You paid for the coffee for everybody, so I want to make sure everybody knows that Mississippi Today treated them for the coffee. It was not my largesse. Yeah. We just provide the place, and we help market it, and we celebrate it. And we have been able to do this with many nonprofits, and it's a great way to continue to build the community that we believe Broad Street was meant to be. In closing, I was the first public Wi-Fi spot when Air-to-Land, Jay Baggett, who used to be at Mobilecom, Jay Baggett started a company, Air-to-Land, which was microwave Wi-Fi. And they put a microwave antenna at their office on Lakeland, one at the Hilton on County Line Road, and they needed a go-between. They said, Banner Hall is the tallest building. Can we put an antenna on there? And, being the sharp business person that we are, we said, sure. But, instead of getting paid, we said, can we just get Wi-Fi, which is pretty smart. So they beamed Wi-Fi into the building. And we became the first place to be able to provide public Wi-Fi. And I remember a businessman came up to me and said, how can you afford to let all these people sit around here on their computers, sitting here all day, drinking water, drinking your soda, drinking coffee? And I said, this is called what they call in the industry, it's a new term, a third space. It's not home and it's not work. It's where people are going to start hanging out and doing their work. And look at us now. It's a blessing.
Very cool. Hey, Jeff, thank you.
All right. Thank you, buddy. You take care.
Talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.